7.2 kilowatt system today, and he closed a 11.2 kilowatt in Texas last week. Good job to Wayne. Matty Geary just closed an 11.2 kilowatt ground mount. Oscar Hernandez closed this may have been the week prior, but closed a 27 kilowatt system up in the hills. So good job, Oscar. And I think he has one or two more. Isabel Mendoza actually closed her first deal. It's a 5.2 kilowatt system out in California. Good job, Isabel, on that. That was her first deal with Terry. And then we had a good handful of installs. Oscar had his first install. I know Coleman had his first install, beautiful 14 kilowatt out in Texas. I know Dana just had an install. Andy and John Stewart just had an install. Matty Geary just had his first install with an Enphase battery, Spencer, out in Sanger, California. Good job to those with your installs. And then just want to go over a couple other quick updates, and then I'll hand it off to Spencer. But there was a video posted by John Oliver kind of ripping apart the utilities. Spencer, I don't know if you've seen it, but you should probably check it out. But it actually does really well in kind of killing the bill and kind of building up the utilities as the enemy as they are. So definitely try to utilize it in recruiting or customer acquisition. Definitely want to use that. It's a great tool. Another little update, Sunlight is going up on their dealer fees by 1% on any loans, I believe a 15-year term or lower. So we see interest rates, what's going on in mortgages and everything like that. So it's only a matter of time before our 0.49 and 0% and 1% interest will be affected. So push any deals you do have now ASAP. Another exciting update, Powur has paid out officially $100 million in commissions since they've started this new pay structure. $100 million in commissions, guys, has been paid out by Powur to date. So that's amazing. Everyone's to be a part of that. Plenty of money to go around. A couple updates with Powur Day. It's June 4th and August 13th. I'm sure that's something that was spoken over during the Mentor Monday. We'll probably talk about that later. Powur World, Spencer, I don't know if you're going to that. Maybe you could talk about that too, maybe some stuff that you have for there. But Powur World, it is July. Make sure you get your tickets for that. It is in Dallas, Texas. And then future trainings. So we do have today, we do have Spencer from Enphase. Met him face-to-face at SolarCon. It was just like, 3 weeks ago, a month ago or so. And cut him off in this conversation with Solar Exclusive and just kind of ran up to him. I apologize for cutting off that combo. But yeah, great connection there. And so I'll be handing it off to him here in a minute. But next week will be Wally Arita. If you know anything about him, he's top 3, top 4 closer, recruiter, mentor, all of the above. So definitely want to be on our meeting next Tuesday for that. And then the week after that will be Solar Insure. It'll be Dean with Solar Insure. He's the VP of sales or something like that with Solar Insure. So you definitely want to be a part of that when that happens that following Tuesday. And we're already working on scheduling out our June meetings. But yeah, so that's all I have for now, Spencer. So go ahead and take it away, introduce yourself, and tell us what you got.
Awesome, Anthony. Well, thanks for having me tonight. You should know that it is 6:10 my time. That means that's typically time where I'm with my wife and my 4-year-old little girl and my 2-year-old little girl. And that is like super sacred time. So the fact that I'm not there and with you says something to how, I don't know how much of an impression Anthony and the team made when we met at SolarCon. So who's heard of SolarCon? Raise your hand for the people. Yep. Who went to SolarCon? Awesome, right? I've been in the solar industry 18 years, and that was the best solar conference I've ever been to. Hands down. I am excited for next year. I would be surprised if it's not 5 times as big, if not bigger, right? It's the first solar conference that was put on by solar people, for solar people, not by owners of large corporations manufacturing racking, right? Not that there's anything wrong with racking. Racking is super important, but this was a grassroots development, and I was super inspired by it. I also got to show up a little bit like a celebrity, sometimes I'm walking down, Spencer from Enphase. Yeah, I know you, I'm like, oh yeah, So that's always fun. Has anybody seen me on any of the Powur stages? What a huge privilege it is for my career to be able to speak on that stage. it's a very, very exciting stage to be on, right? So if you ever have an opportunity, you know, blow your numbers out of the park. This isn't just about like getting one-time chance to be in a virtual 3-dimensional live Zoom huge screen. It is like a career developing, personal growth type of opportunity when you get to be in that kind of environment. So it's a privilege for me to be able to support Powur as Enphase. And tonight, I'm basically going to walk through my core presentation on our current systems. Now, our current systems comes in some varieties. Sometimes people have questions on what to kind of design or what to use in what scenarios for what homeowners. So we're going to dive deep into that. I'm going to give you guys a lot of sales strategy. I think I got a really unique perspective because I was a whole home energy auditor. I did my own plans. I did my own permitting. I did my own installs. I sold in the home. I've sold for some of the top solar installers. I had a 70% close ratio. And then I came on board with Enphase and have been supporting some of the largest solar companies in Southern California. So I'm not some guy in a diner. I've sat at the kitchen table and on a Zoom call. And the only reason I actually don't work for Powur and work for Enphase is because when you're selling the home, you got to be available Saturday, you got to be available Sunday, you got to be available in evenings. And with my 2 little ones, my wife, it's nice to have typically more of a 9-to-5 job, which is more than a 9-to-5 job, but at least it gives some level of corporate structure. So anyways, that's a little bit about me. One other thing that I'm really proud of is I teach courses to homeowners and professionals through my local utility. And I'm even looking at a contract with another utility, the largest in the state of California, to teach courses on home performance through my consulting company, Home Energy Academy, totally separate from Enphase, but it is a passion of mine to teach people about their homes and how to approach a home energy project. It's not just about solar. It's about efficiency. It's about comfort. It's about security. It's about resiliency. It's about safety, right? There's a whole kind of grouping of technologies that go into an energy solution these days, right? And if you're not talking to your homeowner about an EV, then you're missing out on larger solar systems, plus missing out on them getting a greater solution. If you're not talking about switching from a gas furnace to a heat pump, you know, that's a missed opportunity for them. If you're not aware of energy efficiency opportunities where they can maybe install a whole house fan that'll offset air conditioning use after 6 p.m. when rates are the highest and when they don't have to be pulling from the grid, you know, those are conversations that if the person who's selling against you is having, they will show up as a higher level professional than you, and they will likely win the deal. Forget about price, forget about technology. It's about creating a great solution for the customer, and the more knowledge, experience, awareness you have about the whole home, the more effective you're going to be. So anyways, that's a little bit about my kind of philosophy. Honor to be with you guys. I know you guys are all busy. Thank you for giving me the opportunity to meet with you tonight. We're going to go through some really exciting stuff. It's 6:15. Do we have all the way to 7? Should I stop 15 minutes before? Give me a sense of timing. All the way to 7. Okay, great. I'll have no problem filling the 45 minutes, especially with questions, but I'm going to try to stop at 6:45 so we can just open the floor to questions. I'm going to do a couple housekeeping things out of the gate. Can you guys see my screen at this point that says Powur and Enphase? Good. I'm going to show a quick video to start. Even more important than the video, I want to show you guys where I get this video from. Okay, so I'm in a place called library.enphase.com. I'll copy it and put it into the chat right now. Who has an Enlighten login? Raise your hand if you do. Okay. Who has taken any courses from Enphase University? Yes, Doug. I don't see a lot of hands. I see maybe 1 in 10. Okay, so that's awesome news. That means there's a huge opportunity. And what I'm going to show it to you is right now. If you want an Enphase login, you're going to go to this link, which I'm also going to put in the chat. And you're basically going to put in your name, first name and last, your phone and your email. And Powur has kind of this invisible technology administration company in the back end that will create a login and give you guys access to Enphase University and our Enphase marketing library. Okay, so Enphase University has courses on Enphase storage, Enphase PV, sales courses. I talked about it earlier. Education is power. If you're not trained on our storage technologies, given how much of a kind of important technology it is for the Powur platform and overall for the industry these days, you're missing a huge opportunity. The trainings are quick, they're effective. You even get a certification, so you can add that to your LinkedIn profile, to your email signature if you want. And so what you're going to do is you'll go ahead and fill out your email, name, phone. You will get an invite to Enlighten. And then you will go to Enphase University and you will type in, where you'll log in with the login and password you'll get when you fill out that form, that Google form. And then you'll go ahead and you'll type in the course catalog, you'll just search for whatever you want to get trained in. I would just type in sales and you can see the sales trainings that are available. Right, there's one on storage, there's one on IQ8s. This one is actually not active right now. You could also do one on storage if you want to go deeper, and you'll see all the different storage trainings. So this is our ongoing education platform. Feel free to dive in and and get trained on whole home performance as it relates to our systems. Okay, good. So that's Enphase University. The second thing I wanted to show with you guys was this Enphase library. So library.enphase. I'm going to show a cool, inspiring video. You may have seen it before. If not, it's a minute and a half and it's very, very powerful. But before I do, this library is also a portal that you get access to when you have a login. So if you get a login, you go to the login, go to library, and you can get access to this library. So what's in this library? Well, you got sales sheets in here. Things about microinverters, about the Enphase app, load control, different advantage sheets, right? A lot of people sometimes, if they don't close on the first call, need to send follow-up. It's nice to send a trickle of, hey, I just wanted to let you know, here's a great, comparison sheet that I thought you'd really be interested in. Boom, let me send you that. Oh, here's a great brochure that I thought you might like. Boom, let me send you that. Again, the login is that second link that I sent there in the chat. You just basically, I might have just put that under, I did put it under everybody. So that's the Google form you need to fill out. Okay, so I won't go through all the assets, but there's PowerPoint presentations you can download. There are product photos that are beautiful. I mean, the stuff that's developed here is developed by a world-class marketing team. So beautiful product photos. You can use those in marketing, Facebook marketing, online marketing. There's little videos in here that show moving microinverters and all kinds of cool technology. This is for you to use. So you want to take advantage of it. There's also an amazing video library, and I will open that right now. And I'm just going to choose one that we'll watch together. I think I'll choose this one. This one's really cool too. Who's seen Sunshake? Anybody who's not? Okay, this one's my favorite. I'm going to play this. It's really short. I'll play the other one at the end. Hang on. 400. Whoa. I got to make this big. Can you guys hear that volume? Yes? Check this out.
The sun, 430 quintillion joules of energy an hour, more than all of humanity uses in an entire year. Imagine that power in your hands. Now you can make your own power. Use your own power. Save it, or sell what you don't need. Meet the solar home energy system that puts power in the hands of people. Enphase.
Pretty hot, right? So other really, really exciting videos. I'll play one more. I think it's only about a minute. No, that's
every day.
3 minutes. Let me see here. Yeah, this is a minute and a half. This is another really good one.
It hasn't missed a day in 5 billion years. It shows up every morning, right on time. And in 1 hour, it creates enough energy to power the lives of every human on Earth for a year. That's what you get when you're the sun's favorite planet. Not just enough energy, but more than enough. Clean, renewable energy that never runs out. Solar power is no longer an experiment. It's reliable and ready and more practical than ever. It's a new day for solar power. A day Enphase has been working toward from the start. Pioneering solar and battery systems that let people make, use, save, and sell their power. Putting solar power within reach for more people than ever before. And there's plenty more where that came from. For example, in the last 60 seconds, the sun created enough energy to power the state of Texas for 10 years. We can work with that.
Excellent.
Right, so
Amazing.
those are 2 videos. You can download these, you can post these on social, you can use these, you can explore these. Very, very powerful stuff. You'll also, I don't know if you guys know this, but the chief marketing officer for Enphase came from this little company called Apple. Her name's Allison Johnson. She worked directly with Steve Jobs launching some products. Maybe you've heard of the iPod, the iPhone, and the iPad. Right? She's the chief marketing officer for Enphase, and she's built an incredible team, and they've been developing great, great content. If you go to our website, there's a few more videos I'm just going to show you that'll be very powerful resources. Go to homeowners and go to Enphase app, and you'll see this app gives an 8-minute overview video. I guess it's 9 minutes, but it walks through the app, how it works, kind of what the controls are, how to program it, what settings are. Excuse me, this is a great closing video. If somebody's like, well, how does the system actually work? They get in here and they go, wow, I can actually control my home from the palm of my hand. It's amazing. It's also a great unboxing video, right? Somebody gets a system, you want to make sure they're comfortable with the basic functions of their app. You send them this link and say, I wanted to make sure you have this great video that will give you an overview of the app and how it can help you understand your system's output and performance, right? Very powerful resource. The other thing that's really interesting too is if you go to homeowners, Energy 101, we just posted a set of videos called Q Meets A. Kind of cute, but they're basic questions and answers, 1, 2, 3 minutes. Somebody earlier this week asked me, how does how does a Enphase system work, or which one should I choose? And I think I went to which one? Choose a system, right? I took this video, I took this link, I put it into the chat, and next thing you know, she's just sending this to the customer. And which Enphase system is right for me. It's a great little.
We both work for Enphase Energy, and we're here today to talk about some of the frequently asked questions.
I'm not going to take any more time on this.
We've made it pretty simple and broken it purpose.
But basically,
now, if somebody wants to
talks you through a lot of great questions. So if I were you, I'd get familiar with all these videos, use them as little tools, right? When you're sending a little follow-up, somebody asks a question, answer the question, but also, send a little video. It creates more stickiness, more professionalism. It gives them a higher level of comfort with the organization that you're part of, because you're bringing best-in-class trainings, content as part of the engagement. Okay, good. So there's my kind of free marketing 10-minute download to you. This is all yours. This is all free. This is all available. I would even say, if you want, you can go in here and click around. There's a messaging playbook that has really powerful messages. You can copy and paste these messages into Facebook. Not very many people are using them. They pop. They're really fun, cool things, the same kind of things that Apple would use. There's even a social media kit. You can download that and use that. So if you want to kind of have a whole new set of tools to connect to new customers, or just continue to build your brand, your personal brand in the marketplace, leverage Enphase. We're standing behind you guys. Okay, cool. So that's the marketing overview. Let's dive into Enphase a little bit more in terms of who we are, what we're about, where we're going, where we are, and what you can use right now to create systems and solutions for customers. So the first thing I want you to really wrap your head around is Enphase is no longer an inverter company, right? Of course, we can manufacture inverters, arguably the best inverter in the market, definitely the most reliable inverter in the market. It's got some very, very unique benefits that other inverter technologies don't have. And what started to happen is people started to realize that inverters really matter. Like, kind of, who cares what panel they get, right? Having a Q-Cell 400 or a REC 400, not going to make a significant difference on their experience of the system. A little bit, maybe they'll get 1% more output, right? Maybe they get a little bit less of a chance of something breaking, maybe. But this experience of having a solar system and an Enphase system is very different. The app, what kind of battery solution you can add on, the support, the communication, the data, right? It's a whole platform. The inverter matters. It's at the heart of the system. It's more important than the solar panels. And what we started to realize is that because the inverter is the heart of the communication, it's kind of like really important. In fact, we're not just going to create this individual product. We're going to make it part of this home energy system. And as part of our system, we've added storage. We've now acquired an EV charging company that we're looking to get on the platform as soon as possible. So hopefully you can start to sell Enphase EV chargers. We have a fuel cell company we've invested in. That we're going to bring to market probably in the next year or two. We have the only system that can fully allow generator integration to be part of the same system. We have a portable power station we're working on, which is a consumer product that can plug into your solar system, charge during the daytime. You can bring it in your truck. So we're really looking at, we have a load control solution, right? That we have right now, and it's going to get better over the next year. So we're really looking at kind of this technology that's enabled by software, but it all lives in the same ecosystem. I hate to make the connection to Apple, but the iPhone and the iPhone and iPad work really well together, right? They work really, really well together. They're part of the same ecosystem. So our plan is to create awesome technology, innovative breakthrough products like the IQ8, and to address this massive market, really transform it into a market where electrification is the kind of status quo, where gas becomes kind of like it's okay, but it'd be nice to have everything on my solar system and be able to be powered from my batteries when the grid goes down. And what goes into that, we talked about it briefly. It's our microinverters, it's our load control, it's our IQ system controller, which is our hub, our batteries, our fuel cell, even our EV charger. And this is all connected to Enphase Cloud. And at the heart of our system is really our microinverter, right? And the IQ8 is our newest microinverter. How many people know that the IQ8 actually has brains in it that are 1,000 times faster than the IQ7? Anybody hear that before? Anyone want to take a guess on why that matters? Why does it matter to have a faster computer in your inverter? Any guesses? Thoughts?
Faster processing.
Faster processing. Okay, what can that do for the homeowner? Any guesses?
That can allow them to optimize more of the power that they're consuming or producing from the sun.
Yeah, I think definitely there's going to be ways that you may be able to get more efficiency, you may be able to communicate faster. The biggest impact of having this super fast processor is in a microgrid scenario. So I'm going to explain why that is in a second. And if you don't want to know what a microgrid is already, you may have heard the phrase thrown around. I'll just kind of define it so we're all on the same page. We have our utility grid, right? And that's the power plants and the grid, the power lines and all the homes. And that's the grid, right? When you start to create a subset of that grid, a smaller section of that grid, we call that a microgrid. Bigger microgrids used to be things like in San Diego, where I'm based, UCSD, our university, had their own microgrid. If the grid went down, they had their own generator on site and a whole group of buildings that were using the power. So they were a mini grid. The microgrid can get as small as a single home. So when you have solar panels with microinverters, with batteries, and you have a way to isolate from the grid, to separate yourself from the grid electrically, that now is a mini grid. It's its own little grid. You got loads and you got power, right? You got generation that's actually producing energy, and you got loads, appliances that are using energy. And so when you're in a microgrid, it's like, okay, I don't have this big grid that I can both dump extra energy to and pull extra energy from. See, when you have the grid, it's kind of like it's a freebie, right? If my solar panels are producing extra energy, I'll just throw that extra energy back on the grid. If I need a lot more energy than the solar panels are producing, I'll just pull a little extra energy from the grid, right? It's like, you know, the house compared to the grid is meaningless. It doesn't really matter what you do with your house because you got all this extra grid energy to either dump into or pull from. But when you're a microgrid, every little change of the house makes a huge difference. So if you're just solar panels and a battery, right? And, you know, and your loads, if you turn on your air conditioning, that's like, whoa, we went from 1 kilowatt to 5 times the amount of demand, like that. To do that, you need speed. And that's where Dana said processing power. Wow. You need a system that can react very quickly to that demand, or sometimes even the extra supply. Imagine the solar panels are powering, right, the air conditioning. And all of a sudden the air conditioning shuts off. Where does all that power go? If there's no grid, you got to shut that down really quickly. So people try to do that with this big central hunk inverter. They try to do that with these batteries that can come and go. But ultimately, when you have super fast processors that are connected to panels, which are connected to the sun, that can ramp up and down production, and also the same super fast processors in our batteries, it's like having supercomputers and not just a single processor. It's like having, when you buy a computer today, you never buy a single product. You buy a 4-core, 8-core, 16-core processors. I mean, that's just standard these days, right? So what do you want to have in your home? Do you want to have one brain, or do you want to have 20 or 30 super fast brains deciding where energy needs to go very quickly in an off-grid scenario? Now, when this really shines are things like, okay, now if I add a generator and I'm now introducing generator power also into my microgrid, I need to be able to back off the solar panels fast enough to manage all those loads. So the IQ8 is this enabling technology that allows us to do more. And it's why our system is the only one that can do sunlight backup. It's the only system that can actually provide on-demand power during an outage with no batteries. Why? Because we don't need that battery buffer to instantaneously respond to the loads. Our microinverters on the roof are fast enough to do that.
Wow. Hey Spencer, real quick,
Yeah.
are you gonna elaborate a little bit on that that sunlight power only
Yes.
capability? Okay.
Yes.
All right. Perfect. Okay.
So these IQ8s can power appliances during the daytime, during an outage, even without a home battery. Now you need additional equipment to do that, and I'll explain what that is in a minute and go in more depth there. But that is pretty revolutionary. No other technology in the industry can do that. And it also creates its own grid. Okay, so what does that mean? Well, typically a battery, is this interesting or is this too technical and nerdy?
That's good.
No, keep going.
Okay, cool. So typically a battery has to turn on solar panels. Why? Has anybody ever heard of anti-islanding? Okay, anti-islanding means that because of the safety of the grid, inverters have to shut down when the grid goes down. What happened is, I think it was like 20 years ago, there were these huge commercial systems in Germany. There were power outages, the grid went down, and then solar kept producing. And electrical workers went out and tried to repair electrical lines, right? And they got electrocuted. So the industry created a standard that for the inverters To turn on, they have to see the grid. That was the industry standard. Why does that matter? Well, in all battery backup solutions, except for Enphase's, the battery creates this pretend grid for the microinverters. The battery turns on because it's got power when you're off grid, and the inverters on the roof say, oh, the battery's on, I'll turn on now because I think there's a grid, and it kind of tricks the microinverters to turn on, or the inverters, right? With an Enphase system, the microinverters itself can create its own grid. Now, why this is important is because if the battery ever gets drained in another system, you're basically out of luck. If a Tesla battery goes to zero, if a generic battery goes to zero, there's really nothing you can do without rolling a truck and kind of like jump starting it. Enphase has our own jump start built into our microinverters on the roof. In fact, our microinverters, even if the battery has zero charge, can turn on and charge the battery up from nothing. So imagine one house drains their battery to zero. They wake up the next morning, they're hosed. The same house drains their battery to zero, or a different house drains their battery to zero. Sure, they're out of power at nighttime. Next morning, the sun comes out, microinverters turn back on, start charging up the battery and powering the house. And it's because our system is the first ever grid creating solar system. When you combine IQ8s with storage, it's really, I mean, it creates a very, very powerful solution. So why we want to put IQ8s on every roof, which you guys have already converted to, and I'm really happy you guys did that, is it offers clients the latest technology. It's going to enable better experience in the future. It is a very small premium. If you look at IQ8s compared to IQ7, it's like $8 per micro, right? It's like an extra 100 or 200 bucks. It really is. If you knew this and you're putting the system on your grandma's house, you're going to give her IQ8s, right? And that's always my rule of thumb. If I'm going to, now you may be able to sell somebody here or there a cheaper system and make a little more margin. But if you're in this for the long haul, you know that your business is going to thrive and grow if you do the right thing for your customers. So that's kind of my litmus test. What would I do for my dad's house, for my uncle's house? What would I recommend? Because that's what I'm going to give my customers. And every day I would give them, the best technology, which is IQ8s. And the benefit of getting IQ8s on the systems now is every one of those systems is going to be a future selling potential, right? When IQ8s with batteries as a retrofit comes online on the Powur platform, go to all your existing customers that didn't get storage in the first place, tell them they can now add on storage. Hooray, right? Yippity-ki-yay. Those are easy dominoes to knock down and great solutions to provide. So when you sell IQ8s, there's 4 different configurations in which they can be sold. One is called solar only. The next is called sunlight backup. The third is called home essentials. And the fourth is called full energy independence. Solar only is very, very simple. It's basically future-proofing the system. So it's very important to understand and set the expectation with the customer that when they get IQ8s without any of the bells and whistles, without sunlight backup, without a battery, they're getting best-in-class technology, and they are preparing for future storage, but they better know that they are not getting sunlight backup. If the grid goes down, they will still be without power. Why is that? Well, for sunlight backup, you have to install some additional equipment. Even though our IQ8s generate their own grid, you have to install what's called an IQ system controller. Now, an IQ system controller is not a simple device. It takes storage, it takes solar, it's got a microgrid interconnection device, a switch, 200 amps, it's got a transformer. I'm not going to go through all the technical specs, but it's basically a very, very intelligent hub. It's about $2,000. Then you have to get load control, so you can turn on some loads and off automatically from our system. That can be a couple $1,000. Then you got to install a backup loads panel. You got to install a cell modem. You're basically installing a backup system. You're moving loads over without installing a battery. So you'll see this in the Powur platform. It's about $7,500, right? It's not cheap. After tax credit, maybe it's $6,000, $5,500. But it's pretty amazing. I mean, it'll do what customers always expected solar to do, which will still provide power when the grid is down, when the sun is shining. This is a real amazing preparation for future storage add-ons, because you know, you got everything built except for the battery, right? So it is important to set the expectation that they're only getting a handful of circuits, right? And that this is an investment, right? This actually is going to cost, you know, a reasonable amount of money. So you want to set those expectations. Yeah, I mean, it's a great solution. Now, that being said, I prefer the next configuration, which is what I call Home Essentials. So Home Essentials is like Sunlight Backup, but it uses our little battery. Now, why that's cool is because one of the drawbacks of Sunlight Backup is if the sun gets covered by a cloud with Sunlight Backup, the home is just out of power. It's 100% dependent on the sun only. It's got no batteries. So when you add on a little battery, if a cloud goes overhead, then you'll still be able to supplement the power that you're getting from the PV system on the roof with the battery system in the garage or in the outside of the house. It also means that when the sun goes down at nighttime, you'll still have some power, right? You'll probably be able to leave a fridge on, maybe, you know, I would say maybe, definitely lights, internet, TV, right? So this is typically about an extra $2,000. Maybe you're looking at $9,500 for a IQ8 system with Sunlight Backup with an IQ Battery 3. You know, it provides full power during the daytime of all of the solar panels that are on the roof. And then it provides, you know, a little bit of power at night. You're still going to want to set expectations. This isn't a whole backup scenario. They're not backing up, you know, 30, 40, 50 amp circuits. This is 15 and 20 amp circuits, but it's a pretty robust way to do that. And it's a very, very cost-effective entry point for storage that people can build upon in the future. Even from the beginning, Powur always started to say that with any battery system, they're going to always configure it with IQ8s. Now you guys are selling all IQ8s, which I'm really happy about. But it's important to understand that when we had IQ7s on a small battery, we could only get 6 of them on there, right? That was like 2.2 kilowatt systems. When you guys, I don't even think you had the 3 before, but when people used to sell the 3, everything else, all the other solar would turn off when they went off grid. And now basically when you have IQ8 pluses on a small battery, you have unlimited virtually solar power during the daytime. So you get full solar power during the daytime. This means you can get 8 times more solar per unit of battery than you could before. It's a major breakthrough. And that's why the IQ8 is such an enhanced storage solution. And then we have the kind of last configuration we talk about, which is the IQ8 with larger batteries. We don't have any, we used to have some complicated ways that you had to turn off solar. There still is going to be more power during the daytime than at nighttime. And as I said, we're always going to configure this with IQ8s. I'm trying to move quickly here because I want to make sure I leave time for questions. I know there's some good ones in the chat. Again, we only used to be able to put 19 of the 7s on a 10. Now we can put up to 52 IQ8 pluses on a 10.
Wow.
And that's a pretty big breakthrough, because what happens is, imagine they get a 15 kW system, they could still get a 10, but they're able to use all the solar power during the daytime. Some people don't really care about having air conditioning at night during an outage, and they don't want to buy 3 batteries to have to do that. So, you know, you can put larger loads on backup. Now, I don't always recommend putting super large loads on a 10, but virtually, and in many ways, the power is unlimited that's available during the daytime. Now, you got to set expectations right. I don't want you to oversell a 10 and say, oh, I can back up air conditioning with a 10. Usually we recommend whole home energy systems for backup, meaning large loads, starting with an Encharge 20, which is 2 10s. But this is really to illustrate the power of IQ8 and what it makes available during like a grid outage with our storage solutions. Okay, good. This chart is what I would probably use as a reference. These costs may need to be updated a little bit. This is a little bit out of date, I think. They're pretty close, but I try to give you guys this chart to just make it a really simple way to both figure out what your commissions are going to be. People always used to ask me, do I actually make money off batteries? How much do I make? What can I include in margin? What can I expect? I immediately, when we launched Enphase Storage on Powur's platform, said, look, I want this, whatever margin you put on SolarEdge and everybody else, make it double or triple for Enphase. The product is better. I do not want people breaking even with batteries. Batteries takes more to sell. There's a longer install and design pipeline. You guys should profit from that. And if 50% of your sales are batteries, right, and you add an extra, I don't know, 20, 30 sales, you could see that add up to $100,000 to $200,000 of additional revenue at the end of the year. And that's pretty meaningful. I'll definitely send this chart. I am going to run it by sales operations just to make sure that everything's up to date, because last time I did this was probably 2 or 3 months ago. And I want to make sure it's accurate. I have a few more slides, but I want to go ahead and kick it over to you guys for questions. And then if I have time, I can, go over any other technical details. This is also a very useful slide. Okay, cool. So let me stop here. Any questions? I know I moved quickly there.
I have a quick question for you.
Yeah,
on the sunlight backup, I know there's an SPIG rebate through the state right now. Does that qualify them for any kind of rebate because of that feature?
Great question. No, it does not. The sunlight backup has no battery. So because there's no kilowatt hours, the SGIP rebate is a multiplication between how many kilowatt hours times the incentive. So since with sunlight backup, the kilowatt hour number is 0, multiply incentive by 0, we get 0, unfortunately. So no, there is no incentive for sunlight backup. What's interesting to understand is why they created that incentive was actually to balance the grid. So the grid has a real problem at about 7 p.m. every night. What happens is all the solar is off in California and demand goes through the roof. And they had all the solar power during the daytime and not enough power at nighttime. So the batteries are designed to, shift the demand, right, from being super low in the daytime to reducing in the evening time, and to be able to pull that power from the battery instead of having to pull it from the grid. And that's the main purpose for the incentive. Good question, though.
Got a question here from the chat from Doug. Good one. So I guess it's in the pairing of the IQ8s with the certain panels and their wattage and stuff like that. Obviously, there's the A, the M, and the plus.
Sure.
I believe that there's a slide on here, I believe, but how do we know when we're designing a system through Solo or Sonova or whatever, which IQ8 are we pairing with? A 350 handle, Mission 415, REC 400?
Yeah, it's there are rules of thumb, and they should be defaulting in Solo to the right inverter. That being said, it's kind of a personal choice.
Okay.
Let me say a little bit more about that. When you put an IQ7 Plus on a REC 400, you are maximizing the possible benefit of that microinverter. Saying it said another way, you're pushing that microinverter to its limits.
Sure.
The benefit of that is you get a very cost-effective microinverter. You get more solar on the main service panel, because if I show you this chart, I'll show you this next chart in a second here. Let me go back, see if I have a chart on this. I don't know if I do. Yeah, there's a different chart. Let me see.
I remember seeing it somewhere. I think you showed that evolution.
Yeah, I think.
Or maybe we showed it from Powur's side.
Let me see here. IQ8 maximums on backup. I can try to include that chart to backup configurations. No. System configurations. Yeah, there's basically a chart on how many. So the summary is that you can get more IQ8 pluses than IQ8Ms on any given electrical panel, right? You can only get 13. You can get 13 IQ8 pluses.
Okay.
On a 20 amp circuit. You can only get 11 IQ8Ms on a 20 amp circuit. So you can get more pluses than you can M's on a 20 amp circuit. That means that you're able to get more pluses on a given electrical panel without upgrading it than you can get M's. So that being said, when you're putting IQ8 pluses on something like a Rec 400, you are pushing what I call the DC, which is the solar panel output, to the AC, which is the microinverter output, the ratio. You're pushing that threshold, and you will get some clipping. You will get times of day, times of year where the solar panel output exceeds the microinverter's ability to output power. Now, it ends up being about 1 or 2% per year when you put a Rec 400 on an IQ 8 plus or 7 plus for that matter. 1 or 2% per year. Not a big deal. But if you're the homeowner and you're looking at your graph and you see it top off, it may be a kind of point of contention. So for me, my preference is anything 400 or above, I go with the M.
Okay.
Unless I'm running out of room on the main service panel, right? If I'm maxing out their main service panel, and we could do a different training at a different time to,
right.
if you guys know how to do those panel calcs and figure out how many inverters you can get on every main service panel. It's a very powerful skill to have when you're selling solar. If you've maxed out that main service panel, right? Sometimes I'll drop down to a lower output microinverter so I can get more solar on there, because that 1 or 2% doesn't really matter if I'm getting an extra 20% or 15% of solar on the overall system. So my general rule of thumb would be anything below 380, 370, 380 plus all the way. You get to 380, 390, 400, 410, 420. I like the M. If I get above 440, right? Like the LG 440, I don't even know if that's on your platform right now, but just in case it is, if you get above 440, I like to go even above the M to the A. So for me personally, and like I said, it's a personal design decision, because what are you sacrificing? You're sacrificing a little bit of clipping for more on the bus bar and a better price. It's a trade-off. It's a design trade-off, right? You could create rules of thumb, but it's better to understand the nuance, right? You can put an Rec 400 on an IQ8 plus, no problem. It'll work great. There'll just be a little bit of clipping.
Which particular training would go into that in the Enlighten?
Great question. Here's what I would say for that. There's a few things that resources that I can share with you that'll be even more powerful than the training. So bigger is better.
Nice.
I think there's a really good video on this.
Solar Edge versus Enphase. Spencer's getting spicy, guys.
This is from NRG, so this is
NRG.
Yeah.
Wow.
Actually, let me look somewhere else. So if you go to install, so this is going to be some really interesting things to navigate our website. If you go to installers, you'll see a whole toolbar along the top. If you ever want more information about our microinverters, you click on the microinverter and it'll give our microinverters right here. And if you click on a microinverter and you scroll down, or you choose any one of them, you'll see a whole set of documentation. Has the certifications, data sheets, you probably don't care about that. But there's also some interesting documents and documentation. There's this one article called, I'm gonna open it up in a new tab so I can just give you the link to this article. Bigger is, but why is my PV module rater larger than my inverter module? Now it's very technical, but if you want to understand it, you can read it. This is the best summary. If you look at, this is for an IQ8, not an IQ8 plus, but you can see, wow, as I get above an IQ8, as I get above An IQ8, just standard IQ8, only outputs 250 watts. Okay. If I get above that, even up to 300, I'm not really losing anything. Why am I not losing anything? Any guesses? Why am I not losing anything at all when I put a 300 watt module on a 250 watt microinverter? Anybody know?
Because you have much more capacity to go still. So if you put a
it's because a 300 watt panel never really produces 300 watts.
Okay.
That's the laboratory rating for a 300 watt panel. That's the spec sheet rating. In a perfect vacuum at 100 watts per square meter at perfect angle with the sun, that's how they output that rating. In the real world, a 300 watt module normally produces closer to 250. So what this is saying is that, wow, you know, you're really not going to lose anything by putting a 300 watt module on a 250. I can even go up to 350, and on an annual basis, I'm not losing that much. When I start to really push this microinverter, you can see the losses become meaningful. So where do you want to be? This is the sweet spot, right around here, right? You don't want to be up here, and you don't want to be down here, because what you're doing is you're not fully utilizing the microinverter. See, I can only get 16 IQ8s on a main service panel. And if I have a 300 watt module, it's way better to use the IQ8 than the IQ8 Plus, because I can get more solar on that service panel. So this article will go into depth, and it'll give you a really cool chart where you can say, okay, IQ8 Plus in Los Angeles, south facing, what does a 400, what's the clipping? What's the year one inverter loss look like on an IQ8 Plus? 400 year one is 1.6%. Okay. Is that tolerable? Am I willing to give that to my customer? I think it is. If you look at over 25 years, because the panel will degrade over time, and that means the solar panel will degrade and produce less and less, but the microinverter will still have that threshold, it ends up being 1.1%, 1 in 1,000. So anyways, I'm getting more technical than I typically would, but you guys kind of asked the question. So hopefully for people that want to go deeper, this is a great resource. I know we're at time. The last thing I want to mention, and let me just pull this up here real quick, is how many people know that I do office hours every week? Cool. Well, now you do. Every Tuesday at 11, I'm online for an hour on Zoom. It's a very informal conversation, but people pick my brain. They ask questions. They ask for resources. They say, here's a project that I'm working on. Can you help me figure out what the right approach is? They learn from each other. I have some steady people. Sometimes I get 30, 40 people on the call. Today I only had like 10. I had 70 before, right? So it's a place for you to come to really get supported. Anyways, I know we're at time. Sorry I couldn't answer all the questions. I will, if you want to email those to me, Anthony, okay. I can try to put those in like a chat or a video follow-up and send those out to you so you can share it with your group. But it's been a real pleasure meeting with you guys. Hopefully you got some value tonight. Hopefully I didn't nerd out too much.
No, that's what we needed.
Okay,
You're
cool.
You rock, Spencer.
Yeah.
Okay, thanks, Doug. Good to see you guys. Feel free to join the office hours. I'll send these slides with some up-to-date information over to you, and I'll include the link so Anthony can just forward an email to the group, and you guys have all the resources we went over tonight. Again, Anthony, thanks so much for having me. Really appreciate it.
Thank you, Spencer. Appreciate it.
And I love, let me just say one more thing. I know we're at time. You guys are awesome, creating financial freedom for yourself and your family with breakthrough financial results, while at the same time impacting families in a way that makes a difference for our environment and our planet and them. It's like, it's the best, right? So good for you guys. Keep going, keep building. We're playing the same game, and grateful to be working with you guys.
Thank you, Spencer. Thank you. Thank you.